And for more on this, let's bring in Laura Blumenfeld in Washington. She's Middle East analyst at Johns Hopkins University and previously served as a senior policy advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Welcome to the program. Israel's official reason for renewing strikes on Gaza is that Hamas refused to agree to a deal to extend the ceasefire. What can you tell us about what that proposal was?
Well, there was a bridging proposal by Special Envoy Witkoff, which would have released 11 living hostages for a 6-week ceasefire. And that kind of would have brought them to the next phase and give them a little bit of breathing room to negotiate. Israel has cut off all humanitarian aid, so they understand that they have only about 2 more weeks until the warehouses, the storehouses in Gaza run out of food. That also would have brought Israel to the end of the Passover holiday. So I think there was an opportunity there. According to the United States and to Israel, Hamas turned it down. And so, we had Biden's war, which was an emphasis on the humanitarian aspect. And now we're going to see Trump's war, which is all hell.
What was in that proposal? What were the demands from Israel on Hamas? Do we know more about that?
Well, the details, of course, are kept secret until the end, as Madeleine Albright, former Secretary of State, said that negotiations are like mushrooms. They thrive in the darkness. So they weren't all disclosed. I think what's interesting that you're seeing here is that, the Trump administration actually did reach out to Hamas directly. And they were, Shalom Hamas, as in hello. And then they found that they completely recalcitrant adversary on the Hamas side. And now it's Shalom Hamas, goodbye, as Trump likes to say. It's kind of his "you're fired," but in Hebrew.
Well, one of the demands from Netanyahu is that, and he's been saying this from the beginning, that he will not stand for a Gaza that's run by Hamas. Is it possible to negotiate with someone that you're asking to get rid of them as an entity?
I mean, that goes both ways, which is why this whole argument over end of final ceasefire, a complete cessation of hostilities, that's never going to happen, because there's never going to be a permanent state of peace between them. The two parties are at a permanent state of war. What happened, though, that they'd reached a deadlock. There were weeks going by where Hamas was rearming, no hostages were being released. So, the Israeli military is now going to try things their way, which is, negotiation under fire, which absolutely happens in other battlefields. As Secretary Kissinger, our former Secretary of State, once said that you can't win at the negotiating table what hasn't been earned on the battlefield. So we'll see. The Israelis complained for months under Biden that they were kind of being held back. Trump's given them a green light as opposed to Biden's flashing yellow to red. Hopefully this will be very short and decisive so that they can get on to, negotiations, peace, get the hostages out, and aid to the Palestinians.
I wanted to talk about the U.S.'s role here. Trump got credit and claimed a little bit of credit, at least, for the ceasefire that came into effect right after he became president again. And now that the ceasefire is over, is the U.S. to blame for that? How are they handling their role in this?
Oh, it's fascinating to watch. It's almost kind of like a vampire military strategy. No daylight between Israel and the United States. The United States is striking the Houthis in Yemen while Israel is striking Hamas in Gaza. So you might step back and ask why. Those are the last two proxies of Iran. So I think a lot of this is a preamble to negotiating with Iran on their nuclear program. Trump, as we've heard from reports, sent a letter to the supreme leader of Iran through the UAE. He gave him a 2-month deadline. And so I think part of what's happening here in the Middle East broadly, both the United States and Israel are showing that if you don't meet ultimatums, there will be action. Part of that, again, is to sort of undermine the Biden administration and their approach. One of their famous lines, Biden and Secretary Blinken would say, superpowers don't bluff. And Trump is saying that's just a lot of bluster.
Middle East analyst Laura Blumenfeld from Johns Hopkins University in Washington. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.